Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello. My name is Fisayo. I'm an international student studying in the United States. If you have not subscribed, you should absolutely hit the subscribe button because why not? Please. And then definitely hit like on this video. Engage with me in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Today I'll be sharing with you some tips, 8 tips actually, 8 tips for student housing here in the United States. So let's get right into it. So tips for student housing here in the United States. The first one on my list is check your school's websites for on-campus accommodation. Now many schools provide on-campus accommodation to their students, and that is like the first and priority option that you should consider as an international student. So how do you do this? Simply go on your school's website and then look out for student housing options and see if accommodation is being offered for international students or graduate students. Well, what I've come to find out is that for many schools it's typically the undergraduate students that they provide on-campus accommodation for, but then there are some on-campus accommodation options for graduate students. So absolutely check that out. It really saves you a lot of haggling and searching, conversing with landlords, going through several websites, or having to provide extra documentation that you are a legit person, right, and you will not run away. So it's absolutely your best bet. Check on your school's website if they provide on-campus accommodation and go for it. Now the second item on my list is for you to connect with current students in the school to find out how they got their accommodation. It's like the next easiest thing for you to do. Absolutely connect with first year students, second year students, find out how they got their accommodation. For instance, the accommodation that I'm currently staying in, it's a second year student who handed it down to me. So she was here before, and then she spoke to the landlord about me, and I was able to take over this apartment. So you should absolutely find ways to connect with current students. You can check them out on the school's website. They usually have like ambassadors put on their website, so you can reach out and connect with them. You should absolutely check them out on LinkedIn and send them message how they got their own students accommodation, and they may be able to make a recommendation for you. So for instance, I'm in my second year right now, and this is April. My lease expires in May. I'm living here, this beautiful apartment, in May. If someone reaches out to me, I'm able to help them, put in word for them with the landlord if they want to take over this accommodation. Do you understand? So for second year students, they may be able to pass down an accommodation. For first year students, because they recently just got an accommodation, they are able to provide you with easier options for you to go with. They may have gone through several rounds of apartments touring and going around different apartments, so they will be able to recommend things to you. So absolutely connect with students and find out what their experiences were, and they will put you on the right path. Now the third tip is for you to use websites like apartments.com, findometer.com, rentometer.com to find apartments in the area where your school is located. You could also use Facebook groups. So for instance, like my school now, ASU, so there are groups on Facebook, ASU students apartments, or apartments in Phoenix, apartments in Tempe, or students apartments in Tempe. You'll be able to find such groups like that on Facebook. Just type the name of your school and put apartments right beside it in the groups tab. I know nobody uses Facebook anymore, but trust me, when you're looking for apartments, you'll find a lot of information on Facebook. Now, even on Facebook Marketplace, people put apartments there, so they already maybe have their houses, or it's a 3-bedroom house and they're looking for a roommate, so they put all those things on Facebook. You should absolutely take advantage of Facebook Marketplace or Facebook groups. Just type in the name of your school or the city where your school is located, and then put apartments beside it. You see several groups that you could join to connect with prospective students like you, or people who are also looking for apartments. So definitely take advantage of that. And another thing is for you to, which is tied to my second point, is to ask students for what groups they found beneficial in their apartment search. So they could also recommend groups to you and or add you to closed groups, because some groups are closed and only students can add other people to the group. So they can definitely add you and make an introduction. Now for my fourth tip, it's that you don't necessarily have to be staying close to school. Like, even though like it's priority, like if you find an apartment that is close to school, like 10 minutes walk, perfect. 5 minutes walk, perfect. But it may not always turn out that way, right? And you may need to face some harsh realities. But one thing you should make sure is that you are close to a means of transportation. So for instance, like the bus route, make sure that your apartment is somewhere close to the bus route in case you need to take a bus to school, or maybe the train or the light rail. Make sure that where the apartment is close to a good means of transportation in your area. And means of transportation in different areas vary. Like here in Arizona, we don't use trains, but we use light rails and buses, right? In other places like Boston, you can have like the train that works very well, but in some other places, so it just depends on like the area, and you find that out by speaking with students, obviously. So one thing you can do and how you can find out if the place is close to a means of transportation is to just put in the address. So if you're looking at an apartment, you're currently maybe discussing with the landlord, or you're just viewing it online, put the address on your Google map, and then put the address of your school on the Google map as well. So you can be even like from anywhere you are in the world. If you're in Nigeria, if you're in Ghana, if you're in China, anywhere in the world that you are, if you put the from and to location as the address of the apartment you're currently looking at, and the to as the address of your school, you will definitely be able to see what the distance is and like possible means of transportation. So you can see how long it will take you for you to walk to the bus station before like you enter a bus. Or if you're going to walk, you see how long it's going to take you to get to your destination. I would strongly recommend, if you don't know how to ride a bicycle or a scooter, definitely learn it. Definitely learn it to save you a lot of money, especially if you're not here on scholarship, right? I take Uber to school, I walk on some days, but Uber is expensive. Like, it is expensive. And I tried to learn how to ride a bicycle, but I just couldn't balance. Wow, I just couldn't balance. I couldn't do it. And I'm like, okay, I will just be doing Uber and walking and hitching a ride. But absolutely, if you can ride a bicycle, it will be good for you. You just be riding to school and not have to spend money on transportation. Now my fifth point is that you need to be aware that for some accommodations, you may need a guarantor or someone who has a social security number. Now, if you're just arriving in the United States, you would not have a social security number if you're not American, right? But you may, if you have a family member, you may be able to use them as your guarantor, right? Many times these landlords, especially when it's not an on-campus accommodation, or it's not close to school, or it's not affiliated with the school, people just want to be sure that the people that they're taking in are not going to damage their apartment, and they're just doing it for their own security purposes. And you may be able to get help from your school. So if the apartment that you're looking at is one that requires you to have a guarantor, you may be able to get someone from your school to stand in the gap for you. Moving on to my sixth point, when you're in the process of negotiating what the lease is, make sure you find out what the rent actually covers. So is the rent inclusive of your utilities? So utilities like water, like power, like Wi-Fi, laundry, is the rent amount inclusive of that? Or would you be paying that separately every month? That's a conversation that you need to have with the landlord or whoever it is that you are discussing with. right? Just so that you're not shocked. For my apartment, rent here does not cover for our power and Wi-Fi, so we pay that separately. Another question that you should be asking is, or one thing you should be looking out for, is what the lease period is like. So for students that are resuming in the fall, which is August, many times the lease is always for 12 months, so that's August to July. But meanwhile, if you're coming into like an MBA program or a master's program where you'd have to do an internship in the summer, so typically, so let's just imagine that your program ends in May, so you get in August and your program ends in May, and you probably maybe need to travel out of your state for your internship. What happens in June and July? Would you still be paying the lease? Can you sublease to somebody else? So you need to check that you can sublease when you're away if you plan to be away, or you can try to negotiate for a 10-month lease or a 9-month lease depending on what your school curriculum is and how long you'll be in school. So definitely check that out. Even though here in America rent is paid every month, but the lease that you sign is typically like for a number of months, so you definitely need to check that out. Another thing that you should be checking, which is not something that many people check, is the area. How do you check the environment out? And if you're an international student who is not based in the area, who doesn't know anyone in the area, it might be difficult for you to get someone to show you around. But here is a hack, a technology hack. You can simply put the address on Google and use the aerial view to actually, check the area around the house, just to see if it's something that you feel comfortable staying in, just to see if it looks safe, just to see if it looks serene, if it looks like a student accommodation, or if it looks like somewhere that is very noisy and like dirty. You don't want to stay somewhere that you will not be able to study or you will not be able to invite your friends. So definitely use that feature on Google to look at the aerial view of your apartment or the house and just see what it's like. Now, my 7th point: do not be surprised if you are asked to pay a security deposit. Now, the security deposit is different from the lease. It's typically around the same amount as the lease, depending on the apartment again, right? But what that security deposit is for essentially is just to check that you don't damage anything. If you do not damage anything, you would get your security deposit in full, right? You get your security deposit in full. But if that is not the case, I'm sorry to you. I am so sorry. I don't know, but I mean, why would you damage anything? I don't think you should. It's just like the basic things like the washer, the laundry machine, things like that. Just checking that everything is in place. They typically put this check just so that people don't act funny, right? And I don't think that there will be any issues if you stick to the rules and do not damage anything in the house. Finally, rent varies. Now it depends on the states, and you would help yourself a great deal by just going on Google and checking what the average lease or the average rent amount is in whatever state or city that your school is going to be in. Here in Arizona, I live in a 3-bedroom apartment, and the rent per month is $18.95, which is somewhat fair. For like a 2-bed, the rent would typically be like $1517. For a 1-bed, the rent would typically be like $1K, $12, like for just like an average kind of house. If you're looking for the more luxurious stuff, maybe a 3-bed would be like $25 per month, and things like that. But just check online and see what is obtainable in the city that you are at, and also definitely reach out to other students and ask them questions. Thank you for watching. Please hit like on this video if you liked this video, if you found it insightful. If you like me, hit like on this video, and definitely subscribe to this channel for more content and more information about my journey here in the United States. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video. Bye.